Who am I on the line with? Sorry. Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry, this is Poppy.
Hey, Poppy. How's it going?
Good, good.
I thought that you weren't going to be here, so I just assumed. Hello?
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. I'm Robin Dodge, filling in for Poppy Behrens, and I would like to welcome you to today's webinar. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is one of our monthly webinars presented to self-storage owners, operators, managers, investors, developers, and other industry professionals. Today's presentation is Measuring the Effectiveness of Your Online Marketing. The sponsor of today's webinar is Sparefoot.com. Sparefoot Storage Finder is a storage directory for consumers, as well as being the leading cost-per-acquisition-based online advertising solution for the self-storage industry. The webinar today will be presented by Mario Fagali, co-founder and COO of Sparefoot.com. Mario is the co-founder and CEO of Sparefoot.com, a free self-storage locator site operating nationwide. A true quote-unquote internet nerd, Mario has grown the Sparefoot network from one site to a few thousand visitors, over 100 websites with more than 80,000 monthly visitors. With his extensive background in psychology, statistics, and analytics, Mario helps thousands of self-storage facilities generate more tenants online. He writes frequently about free tools that help facility owners track their results and increase traffic to their own websites. This year marks the 31st anniversary of the Mini Storage Messenger, which provides the self-storage industry with in-depth news and information about timely topics and the latest industry trends. Minico also publishes a variety of other self-storage data sources, such as the ones you see listed. For more information, please visit ministoragemessenger.com. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a few webinar details. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing on demand from our archives at ministoragemessenger.com, where you can also find information about our upcoming webinars. The presentation should run about 45 minutes, with the remainder of the hour open to questions and answers. As such, we invite you to submit questions throughout the webinar by typing your question into the question area and clicking send. While we will try to answer as many submissions as we can at the end of the webinar, those that we can't answer due to time constraints will be answered via email after the webinar. And now it is my pleasure to turn the presentation over to Mario. Good morning, Mario.
Good morning. How are you? Great. Well, I would first like to thank Minico for letting me do this presentation and giving me that nice introduction. So first off, my name is Mario Fagali. I'm one of the founders of a company called Sparefoot.com. Yeah, pretty much a complete internet nerd, tech junkie, whatever you want to call it. And we run an online business that helps about 4,000 facilities get more tenants online. So before I go into anything, I just want to give a little explanation of what we do and how what we've learned over the past couple of years is going to be able to benefit owners and operators. So we're an online aggregator, so we're basically like an Expedia for self-storage. So we allow consumers to come and book storage units online the same way that you would book an airplane ticket on Expedia and Travelocity. Now, as Robin mentioned, we power about 18 different sites like apartments.com, self-storage.com, rent.com. So anyone who's listed with us gets listed on all those sites. The thing about us is we don't charge anything unless someone actually moves in. So we've gotten really good at tracking tenants, tracking reservations to leads to tenants, things like that. So I'm never going to claim anything about knowing how to run a storage facility or any part of the operational side of that. But as far as internet marketing for storage operators and the internet in general, I've been on it since I can remember, and at this point it's kind of what I live, eat, and breathe every single day. Also love number crunching, big data nerd, and the reason why is because numbers simply don't lie. So you can trust numbers, and if you have those numbers in front of you, it helps you make more informed decisions. I'm super excited to be here today because I talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of owners over the past couple years, and I always get a common question of, well, what can I do to improve my online activity? And the answer is measuring your results. and that's exactly what we're going to go over today. We're going to get the systems in place to make sure you know exactly for your own website how it's performing. At Sparefoot, we've dedicated time and resources to figuring this all out with our own sites, so I'm going to share with you the tools that we use to measure and how it can be applied to your own website. So the agenda for this, for today, is we're going to go over why tracking is important, and hopefully convince you of that. Go through web analytics tools, examples Google Analytics, and how you can use that data. We're going to go through call tracking and go through call fire specifically, and then how to combine the two to track all facets of your business, and we'll give an example of both online and offline. We'll touch on optimization, which is the process of iterating your current marketing and to get better results, and we'll have a QA at the end. So before we get started, I'd like to ask a simple question, which is, what's the goal of having a website? And I don't mean to take you back to the question in college days or anything, but it's pretty simple multiple choice. Is it to look pretty, have great animations, or to get more tenants? Seems pretty trivial, but I want to ask this because the answer is C. And while having a website is great, you do not want to dump all your money into development costs just to have a static page that looks pretty, because at the end it doesn't do anything. Your website is a tool that should help you get more tenants, and if you clearly understand its main purpose to help grow your business, you'll be able to do that. So you don't want to make it flashy for the sake of looking flashy, and you don't want to have animations just so it's fun to stare at. Most of this stuff is usually distracting and takes away from anyone actually reserving or calling your facility. And if you have a clear understanding of its main purpose to get you more tenants, it's going to help you make better decisions down the road with what goes on or what doesn't go on your website. So a recommendation up front is to treat your website like an extension of your business with its ultimate goal to help grow your business. If we can ingrain this into our mentality from the start, it's going to help us make better decisions about what's going to go on or not go on your website. So again, why is tracking important? First off, it's going to save you a whole lot of money, because with analytics, you're going to be able to measure your marketing performance and efficiency. And the reason you should care is because you're going to be spending money on advertising. Whatever medium you choose to go down, you're going to put marketing dollars, advertising dollars into some channels, and you want to know whether or not they're giving you results. So whether you might already have a website, you might not. Regardless, you want to be able to track everyone who goes to your website. There are many different ways that people can come to your website, and there's a lot of companies that help you get more traffic to your website. We can talk about those later, but right now my goal is to teach you how to get the systems in place to measure your own online activity. So if you can effectively measure what marketing channels are giving you results, no matter what initiatives you're taking, whether it's search engine optimization, search engine marketing, running classified ads, using directories, using aggregators, you'll be able to save money by cutting the unprofitable channels and make more money by dedicating to the ones that are actually working for you. This goes a long way because it helps you eliminate any of the guesswork that you have of whether or not you should be using a specific channel. And you'll have that data in front of you to let you know whether or not it's working. So today we're going to focus on web analytics tools, call tracking tools, and touch on optimization. I will go through each one and explain how they can be applied online and offline. So what can internet users do? So you guys have all surfed the web and you go to different sites, and basically there's only a couple options that you can do when you're on a website. You can call. So if you have a storage website, and you should have a number on there because you want people to call it. Now, if you have a number on your site, do you have a mechanism to track it? Not sure. So what else you can do is you can fill out a form. So whenever you go to a site, you will be asked for contact information. A lot of them have a way to take that contact information, first name, last name, email address, something like that, and submit it. Now, if they're submitting this form, do you have a way to follow up? Now, what information are you collecting? Are you collecting too much information? These are all things that you need to be looking at, but you also need to have these in place in order to measure effectively. Or a consumer or user can come and they can do nothing on your site. And you don't want to get mad at these people. I mean, it's not like they did anything wrong. It's just that they're surfing, they're going from site to site. Now, do you have anything compelling on your site that you can possibly measure later on? For example, do you have some type of coupon? Are you providing directions to your site? You're making it easy for them to get to. In case they don't fill out a form, they don't call, they can still have you in mind. And then there's retargeting, which is behavioral retargeting, which if you've ever noticed, you're probably getting displayed ads to of other storage websites while you're surfing the web. And I know I see public storage ads everywhere I go just because I'm on storage websites all the time. And that's what they're doing, behavioral retargeting. So they see you as a person who went and looked at storage, so then they're going to try to target you later. And this is kind of a more advanced thing, but it's something that's out there. And a little bit more in depth, but it's another way that you can reach customers who haven't transacted on your site yet. So what I want to do today is begin with a story of Mario's Storage, which let's say that I have a storage company, and I know that I just built a website. I know that the internet is a great way for me to attract more tenants, but I have no idea where to allocate my marketing budget, and I have no idea how consumers are actually using my site. I just built it, but I know I want to get more tenants, so I have the ultimate goal in mind. But I still want to figure out the number of people are they coming, where are they coming from, and how they're maneuvering around my site. So I'm going to go through a fake site that I built, and it has a lot of best practices in there as well. So this is my homepage, and it's a mighty pretty one, isn't it? Well, I'm not the designer for Spearfoot, clearly, but I put this together basically to get the point across that this is my homepage. Consumers enter this page first. It's the first thing they see. Their first impression of my facility is based off of this page. So what do I have on this page? I have an address. I have a phone number. I have a way that's I have a little brief description. I have photos. I have amenities about the facility in the left-hand side, office hours and access hours, so the consumer knows what they're going to be getting themselves into. So if it's a Sunday, they know that the office is closed, so they'll come in on Monday. Save yourself a call. And also, I have my units and my prices and the types of units on the right-hand side. So the things that a consumer can do on this page are pretty simple. They can either call, they can click on a unit, or they can just leave. So, but let's say that they click on the unit. So let's say they pick the 10 by 10 climate control. So what happens next? So consumer clicks on 10 by 10 climate control. Now, everything on this site looks very similar. So everything is really consistent. The messaging is very consistent. I still have my promotion. I still have my description. I still have my office hours and access hours and a phone number. Now, the only thing that really changed is now I have a form on the right-hand side. And this form is a way for me to collect unit information. So to collect the information about the consumer. So the first name, last name, email address, and phone number, because that's really all I need to follow up with them later. I don't need much more than that. I mean, you can even argue that all you need is a phone number and a first name. And the less amount of information that the consumer actually has to provide, the more likely that they're actually going to submit this form. And it's important that they submit something like this because later you'll be able to contact them and follow up and try to sell them on renting that specific unit, especially if you already have their information. So another thing I'd like you to notice is up at the top, the URL structure. Now, this is important. So I have Mario Storage, which was my homepage. Now, this is /size-x 10 by 10. So anytime that someone picks a unit, they go to a size page, which indicates the size of the unit that they selected. So this is going to help me later if I want to start measuring how many people went to this specific page. I'll be able to go back, and I'll show you this later, and track the number of people that went to my size page. So that'll tell me. Then I can look at how many people went from my home page to my size page, and then how many people actually dropped off when they went to this page. So I can do little tweaks to improve it, maybe have a better promotion, maybe have a bigger picture. But I don't know that until I know the numbers of how many people are actually going to it. So this is a way to help me track that. So let's say the consumer puts in their first name, their last name, their email address, phone number, and then they hold it. They decide to hold the unit, and so they've submitted the contact information. Now, what happens next? So think about this. Whenever you submit your contact information on the site and you're booking something, you usually get some type of reservation page confirming that your transaction was successful. So this is my wonderful, glorious thank you page that I used Microsoft Paint to write the thank you, but kind of endearing in a weird way. So what I do here is notice that everything is still consistent. The marketing message is consistent. They're still looking at my facility amenities, my office hours, my access hours. They still have a picture. They know that they got the 10 by 10 because it says so right here. It's the same one that they selected the entire way. So the entire time they knew exactly what they were getting themselves into. It reiterates all the information they saw before and also provides them with a means to contact the facility as well. So you can email manager@mariostorage.com, or you can call the number in the right-hand corner. And since I've already collected the information, I can have that submit to an email address of my manager or the owner, and then you can follow up with them afterwards. And you'll know that they actually made the reservation and provided you their contact information, so they're much more interested. And the point is you can collect all this information now in a very organized fashion. The other thing you want to notice is the URL structure here. This is my mariostorage.com/thankyou. So later on, when we're looking at how many people went from the home page to pick the size to went to the thank you page, I'll have all those in place to begin with so I can actually measure all of that. So people who went to the thank you page have to submit a form. So then I can measure how many people actually submitted this form and got to this page. And I can go back and see what size unit they picked and things like that as well. So if the goal of the website is to measure how get more tenants, then this will tell me how many people are actually making reservations. Continuing along. Now, how can I actually measure all this? So I just gave an example of what it should look like. But what if I have a website? Now, what can I use to actually look and see how many people are going from point A to point B to point C, how long they're staying on the site, what are they doing, are they going to multiple pages, where did they come from? And what we can do that all with web analytics. So web analytics helps us measure our marketing efficiency online. So this is all the stuff that's on your website. Web analytics allows you to do that. The tool that I recommend, and you guys can use whatever tool you want, but one that is free and powerful and really easy to use is Google Analytics. It's a free tool offered by Google. It's really easy to install. All you have to do is sign up at google.com/analytics. It gives you a little piece of code that you can have your developer, or if you have access to your website, you can just put at the top of your page, and it'll start tracking everything for you that you could probably possibly imagine. So it allows you to track all your online activity. So if I had my own website, I really need a way to track my results. I need to know how many people are coming to my website, where they're coming from, how long they're staying, if they actually reserve the unit, if they're calling me. And web analytics helps me do most of this. So the things that they provide you with are number of visits, how many people went to my website, time on site, how long did each visitor stay, page views, so how many pages were viewed on my site total per visitor, bounce rates. And bounce rates is a pretty interesting metric. It's the number of people that went to one page on your site and then left immediately after. So you can have, if your bounce rates are 80%, it's not great because that means 80% of the people who went to your website only saw one page and left immediately after. So you want to be able to look at these things and say, well, maybe I'm not getting the right type of consumer. Maybe they're coming from a bad source of traffic, or maybe there's some things on my site I can do to improve and lower the bounce rates, like make it more clear that they're on a storage website. So other things you can do is measure the traffic source. So again, this is where are the people actually coming from? Are they coming from my Google organic efforts, and when I'm spending money on SEO, or if I'm spending money on pay-per-click, spending money on if I'm putting up Craigslist ads and directing it to my site, how many people are actually getting there? And then you can measure specific goals as well, which we'll go over momentarily. So this is kind of a look into Google Analytics, and wanted to go over kind of the things I talked about, but what page? One second. So I want to go over briefly kind of the overview of whenever this, and these are all fake statistics, but this lets me go over and track the number of visitors I got per month or per day or whatever time frame you choose. So from this one, I was just choosing August 1st to 31st and comparing that to July 1st to 31st to look at how well did I do from August to July, and did I make any improvements. So if you follow the blue line, this is all your numbers. This is your numbers from August to August 31st. So it fluctuates a little bit, but in the end, I can see that I had 517 visits. So 517 people went to my website in the month of August. I averaged about 2.4 pages per visit. So the average person is searching around and going to about 2.5 pages. My bounce rates were 59.96%. So about 40% of people went to, or 60% of people went to one page and then left immediately after. They're staying on my site for about 1.5 minutes, and 96% are new visits. So I want to make sure that the new visits, because if it's just me and my buddies going to the website, that doesn't really help me very much. I want to make sure that they're new potential customers for my storage facility. So if you look at the green line, that actually gives you the stats for the month prior. And you can actually select, you can click any date range and any time frame and say, I want to look at this one and compare it to this one. So if I'm comparing one month to another, I can look and see, did I improve? So it says visits 517, but it also says previous visits 527. So I got less people going to my site from one month to another. So if I was spending more money on a marketing initiative and I didn't get more visits, then I would be concerned. But maybe I did some tweaks on my site, and I'm looking at my bounce rate now and saying, okay, well, I made my picture bigger in the month of August versus the month of July. And that caused bounce rates to decrease 3.73%. So the people who go to my site are staying on longer because the average time on site has increased 17% as well. And they're not bouncing as much. So whatever improvements I made over that time have been helpful. And this lets me actually look at that and say, okay, I've made a change, and you should always measure you should always mark when you make a change, because then you can actually track from one date forward and compare it to the previous one. So kind of an overview of what you would initially see on your Google Analytics account. Again, as I mentioned previously, you can also track by traffic source. So this allows you to actually dig deep and figure out, of those 517 people, where did they come from? I mean, it's great that 517 people came, but now if I spent money on Google PPC, how many of them did I get from that? Okay, how many pages did those people see? So I can actually look at different segments and figure out how well they're doing. So this actually breaks it down. This one only shows Google Organic and Yahoo Organic, but they're two separate sources of traffic. And I can see I got more people in the month of August. I got 22.67% more in the month of August than July. So if I'm investing money, if I invested money in July for August to get more organic traffic, this would allow me to tell. This would allow me to see, okay, well, I made an improvement. Now, how can I continue that? Again, this is saying 517 visits from 49 sources. So this is just getting organic traffic, but it lets me see all the way down from any type of marketing initiative I'm going. So I can look at how many people came directly to my site, how many people came from any directory that I have myself listed on. What about classified ads? So I can break this all down and actually segment by traffic source. Again, this is really powerful stuff, and it helps you measure exactly kind of where those visits are coming from, which is useful. So again, I talked earlier about goal setting. So when you have your website, you want to be able to figure out what's the goal. And you can actually set up goals in Google Analytics to help you track each page's activity. So I went back when I previously spoke about the pages, and I said notice the URL structures, the size page, the home page, the size page, and the thank you page. So if my goal is to rent more units, I want to know how many people are first going to my home page, moving and selecting a units page, and then actually filling out that form and making the reservation. Because if I'm spending money to get people to my site, I want to make sure that they're either calling me or I'm giving them, or they're providing me a way to contact them. So that thank you page really helps me out, because I know if I'm spending money on a specific source and I'm not getting a lot of people to the thank you page or a lot of people calling, then that's probably not a good marketing initiative, a good marketing channel. So I want to go over now the conversion funnel and how you should be looking at this type of stuff. But before I do that, it's crucial that you know, before you spend a dime on any type of marketing initiative, how much a customer is worth to you. Because if you're spending money in online marketing, you don't know what type of customer you're going to get. You can't really choose that. So what you have to do is kind of just work with the averages you have until you basically build up a database of just online renters. And the way you can do that is figure out, okay, how much are you willing to pay per customer? So how much is each customer worth to you? And I'll just go over. Again, I don't. Each market's different, and so I'll just throw out numbers to make it easy. But let's say the average tenant rents a 10 by 10 at $100 a month and stays for 10 months. And if you notice, those numbers make it really easy for me to say 1,000, because I just want to make the math as easy as possible. And so if I'm looking, I'm saying, okay, the average lifetime value of a customer is $1,000. So now I got to figure out how much am I willing to spend to get that $1,000 customer in the door. And if I don't know how much I'm willing to spend to do that, then it makes me really hard to know whether or not that channel is working effectively or not. So if you say that you could spend, okay, I'm willing to spend $100, just for the sake of argument, $100 per new tenant. So okay, I know that before I even spend $1 on marketing, that I want to be able to acquire a customer for a tenth of the lifetime value. It might be different in your areas. You have to measure it before you even really start doing this. So now we get to the conversion funnel. So let's say I have 500 people who get to my homepage, and of those 500 people, 200 pick a unit. So I got 40% of those move on to the next step. Now, of the 200 people who pick a unit, 10 people actually fill out my form, and let's say that they turn into rentals. Okay, so I have, of the 500 people who came in, 2% of that overall traffic converted. So my conversion rate is 2% of overall traffic. Now, let's say I'm spending $3 a click. I'm spending on pay-per-click advertising, I'm spending $3 a click. So $3 a click, and I got 500 people to my homepage from that marketing channel. So that means I spend about $1,500 for 500 visits. And I got 10 rentals out of it. So if average lifetime value is, if we're saying it's 1,000, then I got $10,000 worth of customers. So I spent $150 per customer. Am I willing to do that? I mean, I'm not sure. You have to figure out your numbers, and maybe that is worthwhile. If it's from another type of source that you would, if it's a tenant you wouldn't be getting otherwise, then that might be worth it. But the point is, so you can actually look at this and figure out how much I'm getting, how much I'm spending per customer, and is it worth it? So let's say that you got, of those 10 people, only half of them moved in. So only 5 people moved in. So that means you spent $300 per customer, spending $3 per click. So is that worth it? Not sure still. It's, again, up to you to figure out. So, but let's say you're spending, now let's turn the tables and say you're spending $5 a click. Now, you can actually measure this all through Google Analytics, but the point is now we're getting really, really smart about where we're putting our money, because we know how much a customer is worth to us, we know how much we're willing to spend, and we know what initiatives we need to take to get there. So that's all talking about web analytics and what you can do to measure how consumers are interacting with your website. So there's also call tracking, which lets you basically set up a unique number that you can attribute to specific sources. So I can get a unique number that's in my area code and put it on my website. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to have a different number. It lets me measure the number of calls that I received to that specific number and record each phone call. So there's tools that let you, these tools let you create new numbers and track the calls. So it lets you even look at what's happening to those calls. Is the line busy? Did someone answer? Did they leave a message? Then you can actually record the phone call as well. You can use whatever platform you'd like to do this. There's a bunch of them out there. There's one called callfire.com, which lets you get local numbers for $3 and toll-free numbers for $6 initial fee, and then it's a buck or two a month after that. I think it's a couple cents a minute. It's fairly, it was the most inexpensive one that we could find. If someone finds something cheaper, they can let me know. But it's one of the best ones we found. And it works really well, and you can apply these numbers anywhere. So this is kind of what it looks like on the inside. Is you put in your area code. I'm located out of Austin, so I just put 512. And it gives me all these numbers that I can choose from, and I can start putting those anywhere on the site. So I can choose from multiple local numbers or toll-free numbers. Toll-free numbers are a little bit more. And I set this number to forward to my facilities number. So I put this number on my site, and then it forwards to the facility's real number. And then I can also label this in CallFire to let me know what source that number belongs to. So I take the 512 number, the top one, and I apply it and say this is going to be my online source. So I track in CallFire as anyone who hit this number had to come from my website, which may differ than a number that you use on a flyer or another type of marketing channel where you have to put a number. So then you can actually start measuring how many calls you're getting to those numbers and if those consumers are actually converting or not, and turning into rentals because you can listen to those calls later or measure how long those calls went on. So depending on the size of the operator, if it gets huge, you might want to use a toll-free number. So you have one number funneling into that's going to some call center. But if you want to have local numbers, then you can also get those as well. So again, I mentioned that you can add these anywhere on Mario Storage, for instance. And every site that we use, we have a track number on. So we know where if we ever get a call, we know wherever it's coming from because we use these track numbers, and it's worth it to us to spend a little bit of money up front to be able to track whether or not a marketing channel is providing value for us. So again, I say you can apply this basically anywhere. This is a way you can just apply it on your own website. Consumer comes in, they call that number, forwards to your facility, and then you can go back and track it later. So this is kind of the data and reporting that they give you. So whenever you put up a number, they give you a nice little report that tells you how long the call went on for and the metrics that surrounded it. So did someone answer? Did they not answer? Did it get transferred? Was it busy? And you can select the time frame too, so you can see from the month of August to November how many calls you get from your website. So, and figure out what happened to the call, and go back and see, record it, listen to them, and see if the person actually moved in or not. So that's how you can use call tracking and apply it to whatever marketing initiatives that you're using. So now we've looked at online, and we've looked at call tracking, and we've looked at web tracking. And my advice here is the point of this whole thing is you can start now applying those two analytics tools and measure everything. So you can start measuring your search engine optimization efforts, whether if you're spending money to get more people into your organic results, whether it's working or not through Google Analytics, your pay-per-click campaigns, see if people are actually going to your site from there, how long they're staying, if they're completing the reservation process, or if they're making a call. Local business listings, I'll give an example of that soon. These are your Google Places, Yahoo business listings, things like that. Online classified ads, if you're putting an ad on Craigslist or Kijiji or any one of those, or classifieds.com, you can actually, if you put a link to your website, Google Analytics will tell you the number of people that were referred from any source, so you'll be able to actually segment that out to figure out, okay, well, I put up 4 ads last week and I got 30 visitors and one of them moved in, or one of them made a reservation and moved in. Great. Directories and other more as well. But what's also great about this is you can apply these mechanisms to your offline marketing efforts as well. So print ads, you can put a number on there. You can have a specific URL, so a specific web page dedicated to that ad. Flyers, do the same thing, and signs. And I'll go through one of those examples right now, or after I go through the local business listing. Page is loading. So this is your Google map or your Google local listing. Again, this is not a real website. I will not show up if you actually Google new self-storage New Orleans. I just kind of use Paint to just mess around with it. But the point is, you can actually put a track number basically anywhere you'd like. You can put it in your Google local listing. And you can also, since you have a link here, Google's going to tell you how many results came from that specific Google Places listing. You can actually, so you can track the number, figure out how many calls you got from this listing in particular, and this number might be different than the one you have, than the number that you have on your website or a flyer or something like that. And it lets you track when the consumer, where the consumer came from. So if they call this number, you can go back and call Fire, for instance, and say, okay, the 504 number. 504435 number was the one I just used for Google Local, so I know that I got X number of calls from this, so I want to figure out how I can get ranked higher, how I can do better, maybe pay Google more to be put up in there, whatever you like to do with that. You can also measure in so these are the Google local results. The top are the pay-per-click results, so this is referred to a lot of search engine marketing when you pay Google to be ranked at the top. You can also track you can track how many people are. Google Analytics hooks up with AdWords, which is the program that's used here, and you can actually track how many clicks went to your website, and if you have a number up there, you'll be able to track how many people actually called from those campaigns as well. So you can apply it to this online source to measure the marketing spend there. So here's an example of what you can do offline. This is a flyer, a beautiful flyer I created for a student campaign. Again, I'll put a disclaimer that I'm not the designer for Sparefoot, so you don't have to worry about that. But again, if it works, then it doesn't really matter how pretty it is. But I now have the systems in place to measure whether or not it works. So I can set up a specific page for students. It doesn't have to be very different than your current one. It just has to be a consistent message. So I can also have a track number on there, which is that 512 number at the bottom. And I can have a coupon that only is only for students. So in this flyer, which is, does your dorm room look like this? Your useless drunk also needs a place to call home this summer. I have 3 mechanisms to track whether or not this flyer was effective. I can look at how many people went to the Mario Storage-Students page, which they would only know about if they saw this flyer. I can check to see whether they called that specific number, which is only on this flyer as well. I can go back and call flyer and track it. And if they walked in and didn't call or did not go to that web page, but handed me the $20 cashback coupon, I know the only way they got that coupon is if I gave it to them. So I have 3 ways to track if I'm spending a couple $1,000s on this flyer and delivering it all out, whether or not it was an effective marketing tool. So we'll go over what the students page looks like right now, which, again, I want to reiterate that it's what we call a landing page, which is a page that is specific to the consumer that you're trying to target. So this one's, again, this one's dedicated to students. So I have the consistent marketing message of welcome students get $20 cash back with this coupon. So if they decide not to go through the reservation or make a call, they still have a way to print out that coupon and bring it in so I can measure how many people did that. And they can only get to it if they went to the students page. Furthermore, if I send out the flyers, people can go to this page and they can also make a reservation online or call the specific number that's only on this page. So now I'm looking at how many people called the number on this specific page that's only for students, or how many people went to the next step, which was pick a unit and made the reservation. So I can set up a goal in analytics that tells me how many people went to the students page, picked the size, then went to the thank you page, which means that they actually made the reservation. So again, with this, you want to keep the marketing message consistent, dedicated, specific to the students, and by creating a flyer that has all the ways to track, you can then measure how well you did, and I'll go through that right now. So let's say that you have your flyer, and you sent 1,000 flyers out to a specific campus or dorm rooms. You spent $2 a piece. This includes the creative, the getting designed, and you mailing it out to everyone. So of those, we apply the same metrics that we did before. But only 50 people went to the students page. So I sent 1,000 flyers out. Not many people went to my web page from that. And then you apply the same metrics. So you have 40% went and picked the unit, and then 5% of those actually made the reservation. So you have one person came from online, and one person went online and actually booked, and then we can also assume that 3 people called. So 3 people called and it turned into rentals because you measured that using call fire. Now, is this a good marketing channel? So you spent $2,000 and got 4 customers, about $500 a piece. Again, I'm not sure. The point is, now you have a mechanism in place to measure everything that happens on your offline and online marketing spend. So this allows you to, in analytics, you can go in Google Analytics, you can go through and measure this goal and see how many reservations were made, and then go back and call fire and see how many calls turned into rentals. And you can also go back and check the coupon too and see how many people actually moved in using that. So maybe my flyer was bad. I don't know. Maybe I should just try to change it up a little bit, actually invest money, maybe spend $3 a piece and spend money with a real designer and maybe get better results. But the point is, I would keep all the variables consistent, send another 1,000 flyers out that's a better design, and see and measure if it gets me 12 rentals. In that case, maybe it is an effective channel. So at the end of the day, the message I'm trying to beat in everyone's head is tracking is extremely powerful. If you can measure it, you can absolutely start to manage it. And the things we went over today were web analytics, specifically Google Analytics, call fire and call tracking, how to measure your phone calls, and how it applies to both offline and online marketing initiatives. So again, want to thank everyone for your time today, and Q&A open. But before I go, there's one more thing I want to share with everyone, is that anyone who listened to this webinar and stayed for the entire time, really appreciate it. I just want to offer a special, just as a thank you, is that my site will again, we have a network of about 4,000 facilities. Put your listings all over the web, and we don't charge anything unless someone moves in. We'll give you 2 free rentals, 2 free tenants if you basically go sign up and then just say you can pick that the Minico webinar is how you heard of us, and just as a thank you, you can try us for free. We'll send you 2 free tenants, and that's about it. So if you guys have any questions at all, I couldn't go over everything today. I have a lot of flyers and other things that I'm happy to share with you if you shoot me an email. Also, my phone number's on there, and yeah, that's all I have. So I'm happy to take any questions you all may have. Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like we do have several questions here. The first question is, they didn't quite understand what the bounce rate meant. Could you explain that again?
Sure. So the bounce rate is the number of, it's when someone goes to your website and goes to one page and leaves immediately after. So let's say that you go to a website, you're going on Google, you search, and you click on Mario's Storage. You get to that first page, and you just hit back. So that would be considered a bounce, because you didn't actually do anything else on that site except go see one page and then leave. So from the perspective of what's being tracked, it means that the website wasn't really a valuable tool because you didn't actually go further and dig deeper into it. So, and I think it's in a given time frame. So if you stayed for under like 2 seconds, so if you have 2 people who came to the site, one person stayed for a minute and went and did a reservation, another person who just went to one page and bounced, that means your bounce rate's 50%.
Okay, next question. Are the tracked numbers able to be forwarded to one central phone number that rings at the facility?
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you track a number, you tell it where it's going to forward to. So you can have multiple numbers forwarding to one specific number. I know that when we do campaigns like this, we have 5 numbers all going to one main number. So you choose which number that the track number goes to, and you can set that all up in CallFire. It'll ask you because the number is dummy until you tell it to forward somewhere. So the number is meaningless unless it goes somewhere. So you have to tell it where is it going to go. So usually set it up to go to the facility's real number.
Okay, here's another question. Do you think that social marketing networks, Facebook, Twitter, etc., are effective for the time they take to set up and update regularly?
I have my own personal kind of gripes with that. I think that there is use in it, but my only issue is you can't measure it. You can't really measure how well it's doing. A lot of people will say it's kind of table stakes. You kind of have to have it. My personal theory is that storage is a temporal market. So, sure, you have 1,000 friends to your Facebook page, but if that person doesn't need it that day, or that they're not going to use it. So I'm kind of I'm happy to be controversial and say I don't think it's. I think there's other more effective marketing channels that you should be focusing on, because I can't until someone figures out a way to measure the effectiveness of social media. I'm not too keen on it. But that goes without. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter page. So, but how many more tenants have we received from it? I couldn't tell you. So that's why I would rather do stuff that I can measure.
Excellent. Looks like we have another question about CallFire. Concerning and setting up tracking numbers in callfire.com, does that group provide the different tracking number, or do I need to obtain the tracking number through the local telephone company before I contact CallFire?
No, they provide it for you. All you have to do is you go in, log in, create an account, and then say what area code you want the number, and then it'll give you a list of numbers to choose from. So it provides the number for you.
Okay. Next question. Do you have a referral for some web designers that can work with my existing site, like building landing pages?
Possibly. I know that Chris at Automated is good. I've talked to him multiple times and does good work. You can just shoot me you can just shoot me an email, and I can provide contact information. We know a decent amount of people in the industry who do stuff like that, and I'm happy to provide recommendations.
Alrighty. Next question. Trial and error is a tough way to learn what works well. Where
Yes.
can we go to see statistics on various self-storage marketing methods?
That's a great question. I mean, I know Derek Naylor with Storage Marketing Solutions he probably has more stats on any of that stuff than most people because he does marketing campaigns for them. I don't really have a great answer for where you can go see stats on which marketing initiatives work. I mean, it is, yeah. I mean, I will agree that that spending money and trial and error is dangerous, but it's not dangerous. It's just that it can be an expensive way to learn. I would just say that you have to do the research ahead of time, and there's ways to kind of do feasibility marketing studies. I know that Google, for instance, has a external AdWords a keyword tool. So what you can do there is, and I'm happy to send you the link if you ever ask that question, and it basically tells you how much search volume is in that area, how much you should be willing to expect to pay per click. So you can kind of back into the numbers and optimally look and say, okay, well, I know that on average it's going to cost me about $3 or $4 per click on in this channel. How well does it work? How much money do I need to spend up front before I say no? So you say, I'm going to set aside a budget of $100 to try this, and if I can't convert this well, then I'm not going to go forward with it. So I would look at it that way more than anything, and then I would just ask. I would also ask. Everyone in the industry seems to be really helpful if you ask other storage companies, who do you use, why do you use them? They're usually pretty quick to answer and help out.
Okay, it looks like we have time for a couple more questions. The next question is, any example of excellent sites we could visit?
Of excellent sites, I have a lot of sites that I really like, but in terms of, I guess in terms of, I don't understand the context. I mean, there's a lot of, you have.
Looks like he says competitor sites. He just sent that back in.
Oh, competitor sites.
Yeah.
For
competition sites.
I think Public Storage has a great looking website, to be honest with you. They do a really good job of laying it out and everything. I think our designers do an incredible job of laying out how facilities should be listed on sites. In terms of SEO, I think Storage West does an incredible job too. They do a great job in terms of how their interlinking structure. So I've seen them being used as an example. All the big guys usually have really, really decent sites, and if competitors in terms of storage companies there, that's them. I know in terms of directories, there's I know Barefoot, there's US Storage Search, there's Storage Front, there's UPick Storage, and a vast other. There's a lot of those guys as well. Some of them look better than others, but you just look around and see what you like and go through. I would say just go through each of the conversion funnels that they offer and see which ones you'd like to mimic. We always look at comparison sites like Expedia. A really cool one that just came out is hipmonk.com for flights. I know that may be going off topic a little bit, but those are all. If you want to design and make a good-looking site, then you want to know what other sites are out there. It doesn't really matter what industry they're in. If they take a transaction, and they do a good job, then I would recommend looking at them and trying to see what they're doing and how you can apply that to your own site.
Okay, and here's the last question that we're going to have time for today. What keywords are you using to set up Google Alerts?
Me? Oh, that's an interesting question. What keywords do I use? I use storage, self-storage, every one of the big guys, storage marketing, anything that has to do with AdWords or Google. See how that comes up, and yeah, all the industry publications as well, because I always want to keep on top of that stuff. So, that's and then a whole bunch of other small tech sites and marketing sites as well.
I'm lost you there for a second, Mario.
I'm happy to share that list.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Again, I'm happy to share that list with whoever asked that question. But it's just a lot of random sites and then a lot of storage-related sites.
Okay. Sorry about that, Mario. Looks like we lost sound connection for just a moment there, so I wasn't sure if you were finished speaking or not.
Oh no, I just.
But that's all we have time for today. I want to thank everyone for attending. We hope we've provided you with some useful information to assist you in your self-storage endeavors. You'll receive an email within the next few days with the link to the archived presentation. So be sure to watch your inbox for this email. Our next webinar will be held on December 8th and will be sponsored by Cutting Edge Management. The topic will be, is a management company right for you? To sign up for this or any of our future webinars, please visit us at ministoragemessenger.com. Thank you again for attending and have a wonderful rest of the day.